everyone, welcome back. My name is Dimitra. I'm the events manager for Mauve Group. This week we announced some really exciting news for our company. Mauve Group is celebrating 25 years in business. Statistically, 70% of startups fail in the first 2 to 5 years. But here we are, 25 years on, and not only are we still in business, but last year, 2020, was our busiest year on record. Even though we faced the most challenges since probably the global recession in 2008, we had confidence in our ability to push through. And so we did, and so did our clients. With the concept of remote work suddenly placed at the forefront of every HR professional's mind and organizations trying to forge future plans, we saw a huge increase in new business inquiries. So our success in 2020 reflects the perseverance of our clients and companies in general to find new ways to continue their business operations in a very new and unstable and uncertain business environment during the pandemic. But enough about 2020. We're here, we're celebrating Mauve's 25th anniversary, and we have a long list of festivities planned throughout the year to honor this amazing milestone. Since its launch in 1996, Mauve Group has set up its own entities in 49 countries around the world, has worked with companies from 73 different industries, has developed over 150 global PEO solutions, has employed thousands of PEO workers, and has served thousands of organizations to help them reach their goals. Our broad network, strong solution package, award-winning service levels, and now quarter-century experience in this industry has saved our clients time, money, and stress. But how did it all start? Ann Ellis, our CEO and one of the founding members, grew up in a rural farming community in North Wales in the UK amongst close-knit and entrepreneurial people running their own agricultural businesses. She dreamt of doing something more with her life and traveling the world, so many years later she found herself in Italy with her husband and our CFO and one of the founding members, John Ellis. One day, a niche opportunity fell into their hands, and being the risk-taking people that they are, even to this day, they decided to take advantage of it. They rented out a small cupboard-sized office in their little village in Italy, and from that tiny office in 1996, Mauve Group was established. There's a lot of details, a lot of interesting and funny details of Ann and John's story that I've left out, so I'll leave those linked down below and you can read all about them. Because now I want to turn to an interview I did with Ann where she spoke about reaching this amazing milestone and the journey it took to get there. And of course, she shares her advice on developing and maintaining a successful business for 25 years. Take a look. What was your goal when you first started the company in 1996? And is that what the company has actually developed into today?
Well, I suppose the initial goal of was to support these engineers which included John actually, who were working on these projects, setting up cellular networks all over the world, and basically they needed someone to invoice on their behalf and receive their money and pay them in all these different countries, make sure they were working legally in that country and were paying taxes on the money they were being paid. So that was the initial goal. And therefore, really, we didn't have a goal in mind when we started. It was really sort of the situation presented itself to us, and we just took the opportunity as it came along. We'd always wanted to start up our own business, but never really gone into it, thinking about it in too much depth. And we were basically in the right place at the right time.
How did you, I think you sort of touched on it in the first question, but how did you come up with the idea for this sort of company? Because obviously it's quite a niche market. So how did you come up with the idea, especially seeing as your background is in teaching, right?
Yeah, well, basically what happened was that John and his colleagues were really asked to take part in these projects very soon after they'd launched the first network in the UK, which was the Orange network.
Right.
So there was very little time to think about it, but there were some companies around already even then. Some of them are no longer active, operational, who would provide a service, but they were actually very expensive. So John and his colleagues wanted a cheaper option. So that's why we thought, why don't we set up our own company and we can charge lower rates and everybody will be happy about that. And that's why we did it, really.
Even though we are 25 years old, and as we know, statistically, statistics tell us that a lot of companies don't make it this far. But 25 years later, we're still one of the companies at the very top of this industry. So what do you attribute that to? What's so unique about Mauve that has kept us, with all the new competitors that have come into the market, that has still kept us at the top? I'm sure one of the points that you just said is that we're a lot more reasonably priced than some of our competitors.
Yeah, basically the reason we're still here, and there have been lots of ups and downs, sure, is that when there has been a downtime, we've looked at some, changing what we're selling, the service we're selling, adapting the service, looking at additional services we can add to the service that we're offering. Also, the fact that we're spread out, even in the early days, we were quite spread out. For example, in 2009, when the world crash happened, for the next few years, we basically stayed above our heads above water by having two huge projects in Japan and in South Africa, where we were employing hundreds of workers, whereas Europe at that time was totally dead. There was no business at all. So it's a mixture of lots of things, really.
My next question is more of a personal question, and that is, what are your personal goals? So outside of you as an entrepreneur and your business, what are the goals of Ann Ellis?
Well, again, I'd say that my main goal is to stay healthy, because unless I'm healthy, I won't have a very good quality of life.
Yes.
Once the pandemic is over, I definitely want to go back to traveling, because even when we're traveling for business, I really enjoy traveling. I love meeting up with people. I'm really looking forward to be able to travel, to meet up with a lot of the new clients we've taken on in the last year. I'm really looking excited about that. Really, I suppose I'd say that, all right, business, and there are two sides to everybody's life, but to tell you the truth, our business does take up most of our life because we don't see it as work, so we really enjoy what we do. So it's like it's just what we do every day, and we just enjoy doing it.
What would you say your leadership style is?
Yeah, I would say I would like to think that I was approachable. Also that I would take other people's opinions and suggestions into consideration, more of a sort of not, it wouldn't be that I would say, right, this is what we do and that's the end of it. I don't want to hear anybody else's opinion. It would be that I like to sort of discuss everything with other members of staff before decisions are taken. That's what I think is very important.
What do you think the key to a successful business is? And I know it might be a difficult question because there's so many things you could say, but if you had to pick one, what is the key that you found to having a successful business?
Well, I think the most important thing is to keep abreast with what's happening basically in your own industry and in the world in general, making sure that you try to be one step ahead. Always, we were one of the, as we've said before, we're like a pioneer in the world of EOR when the name EOR didn't even exist. And I hope that we've always tried to be there one step ahead of the competitors. I think that's very important. Be ready for change, always ready. I love change personally. I like having change. You've got to keep changing with things that are going on around you. I think that's also very important to being successful.
I think that's great advice. And then finally, the last question, it's a little bit of a cliche, but I think it's become a cliche question because it is so important. It's similar to what I've just asked you, but the question is, what advice would you give to someone who's just starting their business now?
Well, number one advice I would give them is that they need to find good partners to support them, experts. For example, you must have a good accountant. You may not think you need one, but you do.
Right.
And you need good lawyers. You need to have people who can advise you legally right from the beginning. That's very important. Right. You need to be ready to take risks. And also, even sometimes, you have to be there, ready to take a risk. You might think, this might be the worst thing I'm going to do, but you have to be prepared to take those risks. And also, when things aren't going well, you have to keep positive. It's very important to keep positive. Yeah. Not get too. I'm very fortunate. I don't worry that much about stuff. Right. Not to worry.
Yes. Thank you so much to Ann for speaking with me, for sharing her insight into Mauve, and for sharing her advice for other businesses. Now, John doesn't make an appearance very often, but I do have an exclusive interview coming up with him, and he'll be sharing his perspective on Mauve Group, which will be very different to Ann's, as they both work in very different parts of the business. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you for being with us along this journey. And as I said, there will be a lot more celebrations throughout the year, so make sure you stay tuned. Until next time, stay safe and take care.